Greetings and welcome to Infodome. The success of A Quiet Place, the horror thriller directed by John Krasinski, is a visual masterpiece. Here are some behind-the-scenes facts and explanations that answer your biggest questions about this film. Number 1. Actress Millicent Simmonds has been deaf since infancy due to a medication overdose. Simmonds told Krasinski that she really enjoyed seeing how different characters' signing was. He said, "Millie pointed out that my character is very shut off and just wants to survive, and his signing is very curt, it's very small, it's very immediate and direct. Emily's character is all about we can just survive, there has to be beauty in the world. We have to give a life to our children. So she's very warm and she's bigger and she's more affectionate with her signing." Number 2. The film's director and lead actor John Krasinski had a third job to do for this film. He played the monster in a motion capture suit for a few scenes. Number 3. The practical effects team on this movie spent a lot of time researching and testing the corn silo scene because they had to come up with something safe for the kids. They had to use real corn because the close-ups on it fall into the corn, they sink into it and go under, they're moving around in the corn, so the safety rig built for them was pretty complicated. It took 4 people to help operate it. For them, that was the biggest challenge, keeping it safe and making it look good. But it came out really believable in the movie. In that whole sequence, there's hardly any visual effects. They built this rig which is like a latex balloon membrane, and it had a hole in it that the kids could poke through. And then they have the corn lying on top of that. The latex itself isn't strong enough to support all the corn. There's about 12 inches of corn on top of it. Even that was very heavy, so in addition, there was a floating rig that could support all the corn. Number 4. So, as you can imagine, a lot of corn was needed for that scene. The filmmakers purchased 20 tons of corn and hired local farmers to grow it. Number 5. The bathtub scene with Emily Blunt was done in one take. According to Krasinski, as soon as he said cut, Blunt immediately fell out of character and asked the crew, "What's everyone having for lunch?" Number 6. Krasinski said that the single greatest compliment he received regarding the film was in a tweet from the master of horror himself, Stephen King. King wrote, "A Quiet Place is an extraordinary piece of work, terrific acting, but the main thing is the silence, and how it makes the camera's eye open wide in a way few movies manage." Number 7. Spielberg may not be known as an outright horror director, but his knack for incredibly tense set pieces clearly rubbed off on Krasinski. On the family survival tactics, he said, "I love the idea of your second and third chance meeting." Meaning, if you did make a sound, you go into a whole other level of survival, which is, now that I've made a sound, if I run, I'm dead. If I stay, I still may be dead. The idea of the Jurassic Park kitchen scene, if you make a sound, you have to stay still and hope they don't get you, that was always in Krasinski's mind. Number 8. A Quiet Place feels very realistic, and one reason for this is that actor Krasinski and his wife Blunt used the actual family photos in the movie. If viewers pay really close attention, perhaps they will see one of these images in the Abbott family's farmhouse. Krasinski spent a lot of time searching for the ideal filming location in New York, and when he found it, he wasted no time. The actor immediately got to work by decorating the house he had chosen, and he put photos of himself, Blunt, and the actual children in the house. Number 9. The special effects team at ILM told Krasinski in order to ensure when the creatures integrated into each scene in post-production that he would need to have a stunt actor on set wearing a tracking marker suit. This way, Krasinski could direct the creature movements, lay down a blueprint for the motion, and the camera operator would have a better composition because someone was there to follow. The animators had a hand in figuring out how the creature would move for Krasinski. He had a lot of ideas that he wanted ILM to try out, and they were happy to investigate what this thing could do. They did a lot of rough tests, trying out a lot of weird ways the monsters could move, and the movie looks incredible thanks to their work. It's a slow, methodically thinking creature, always on the hunt for prey. So when it zeroes in on something, it strikes at lightning speed. At times, the editors sped up the animation to have the creatures move even faster. Number 10. One major issue this movie had in post-production was the complete redesign of the creature. Krasinski referred to Aliens and Jaws as movie styles that he wanted to emulate. ILM agreed, as it's far more effective to show as little as possible for most of the movie, increasing the tension by slowly revealing the look of the creature near the end. He wanted them to be creepy and scary. The original design wasn't scary enough, so ILM had to do a total redesign, top to bottom, about 2 months away from releasing the movie. To start with, production designer Jeff Beecroft and the art department came up with the original design. Krasinski had collected pictures of black snakes with cool-looking scales, and he had this really great-looking prehistoric fish with sharp, bony exoskeleton-type features that stuck out all over it, and even different types of bats for the way they moved and ran. Krasinski felt at the beginning that as it was a super hearing creature, it would have flaps that opened on its head, and flaps on its face, and flaps on his shoulders, and flaps on its chest and back and its sides. The team pushed forwards with it, but ultimately thought people were not going to understand how this creature hears. Number 11. So the complete redesign of the creature ended up based on photos, movie ideas, art, and ILM's own art department working on it. The creature ended up being much scarier looking, so the team named him Happy. One of the major visual redesigns of the creature was to limit the number of ears it had. The creature had a small amount of screen time so the storytelling could be clear in each shot. If it is listening, the hearing devices should be instantly and visually understood by the audience. Ears on a foot, arm or chest might confuse the audience without more time to explain it, but ears on the side of the head is clear to everyone. So they put real ear holes in, so when the flaps open you really know that that's what the thing hears. The ILM art department concept artists really did a great job coming up with a unique design that sends shivers down your spine. Number 12. The movie only contains about 25 lines of voice dialogue, although sign language dialogue is used extensively. And the first line of voice dialogue isn't spoken until about 38 minutes into the film. Number 13. There was actually quite a bit of practical effects because of budgetary reasons. Krasinski was convinced he wanted to do as much as possible in camera, so the actors had something to react to. For example, as the monsters attacking the pickup truck at the end of the film, the team are actually making the truck move around. They broke the windows, doing all the stuff the creature would actually be doing in the environment. So the truck is bouncing and getting hit around under Krasinski's direction, and then ILM comes in with the team and adds the monster in. Number 14. Another example is when the shots were down in the house basement, when Blunt is there with the shotgun, shooting at the creature, and all the stuff in the room is flying around. That's the team doing it practically. There was a lot of wire and monofilament work. They're literally pulling objects over, making things float in the air with wires, instead of having visual effects do it. Number 15. The Abbott family's use of red string lights on the lawn is never explicitly addressed. Many assume it's their silent code for an SOS, or that Blunt is in labour. But some perceptive fans notice that sound design sneaks in small, high-pitched noise whenever the red lights are switched on. And as we know, what we hear has a small sound is a huge sound for the creatures. So whether done consciously or unconsciously, the system actually works twofold. First as a warning sign and a cry for help, and second as a diversionary tactic to lure the monsters away from the house. Number 16. When you watch the movie again, watch those lights when the creatures are near, as the lights do actually start flickering. Number 17. In one of the many newspaper clippings scattered throughout the house, the monster's arrival is described as being part of an invasion. This word implies that they aren't some kind of science experiment gone wrong, or super evolved creatures originating from our planet. This detail gives another layer of meaning to the spaceship toy that leads to the tragic death of their youngest son in the opening scenes. It would also explain the creature's hypersensitivity to sound on Earth. Noise can't exist in a vacuum, so there's no noise in empty outer space. And because the sound comes down to frequencies and vibrations interacting with our atmosphere, who knows how the atmosphere on the creature's home planet influenced their evolution and sound sensitivity. Number 18. In the beginning of the film, in the store, most of the food on the shelves is gone, except for all the bags of chips. Only the noisy food is left, as the survivors know that creatures can only hurt you if they hear you. This is a very clever touch to the universe Krasinski created. Number 19. A Quiet Place consistently subverts viewer expectations, right from the opening scene in which the youngest family's son Beau is introduced and quickly dispatched by one of the creatures. If you found that death shocking, well, you were supposed to. Krasinski explains, "The power of a child dying set up what I found to be a great opportunity to instill the terror of this reality." Krasinski saw the pregnancy as a reaction to the death of Beau, based on the statistics of what happens to parents who lose children. Some split up, he says, and then the other version is you force yourself to move forward, and it almost becomes a recalibration of your entire life by trying to have another child. I think it's somewhere in the middle. Number 20. For all the monster attacks and set pieces that linger in the memory from the movie, one image is hard to shake, is Evelyn's newborn baby being placed in a wooden box to avoid detection by the creatures. Krasinski admitted that was the most intense thing I've ever done in my career. I didn't expect how viscerally I would respond, and yes, probably because I was the father of a young baby at the time, but just as a human being. The baby's parents did give permission for their child to be used in the scene, and it was filmed in 2 very fast takes. As soon as Krasinski put that lid on and left, they were like, "Cut." Everyone was just like, "Get that child out the box." It was basically a puffy bed and there was holes everywhere for the baby to breathe, obviously, but the entire crew understandably had a nervous breakdown on that scene. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to be notified about all future videos. Until next time.